This conference will now be recorded.
So in the last class, we focused majorly on input output parameters. So insert building procedure we created with insert and select columns, and we created a procedure if statement we used. So now, so let's focus on internal tables. Internal tables under procedures. I can say something like create procedure. So what is an internal table in the sense? For suppose you're seeing here we used in input and output parameters, we used variables. Variable means one column. That's it. So if in the input parameter, I just want one table output in an input parameter, you have to use internal tables. I'm creating a process here. In the procedure, I give the schema as Hana 52 dot procedure underscore internal table. So I go with an output parameter. Okay, so now in the output parameter, instead of giving a variable, in the output parameter, instead of giving it variable, I give a table. Output parameter, sorry, I give it as an internal table. Output parameter is an internal table, and structure of an internal table is account. Okay, so output parameter is an internal table, and so the output parameter structure is okay account. So let's say as begin. I'm creating a procedure here, procedure underscore internal table. So I go with an output parameter. Okay, instead of an input parameter, I given an output parameter. Output parameter, an internal table, and structure of the internal table is account table. So I say now I give internal table will be assigned a value that is equal to select star from account table. So internal table will get the data from account table itself. So no problem. So let's end your procedure. Okay, now your procedure has been created successfully. So if you go to your procedures, let's say refresh. So now your procedure underscore internal table has been created successfully. Let's say call your procedure. Procedure underscore call procedure underscore internal table. So you have only one output parameter, so you give question mark. You see customer ID, account, bank, and balance. So you see all the seven statements you have. Okay, you see all the data in your account table. So all the 7 records you have in the account table. Okay, so now let's go into the real internal table. So I just given an output parameter. In the output parameter, earlier we used to give variable, which is one column. Now we're giving a table. Okay, I'm creating out same output procedures here in the same scenario. Say Control C, Control V. Okay, so here I just create an procedure internal table. The name is, I give it as procedure underscore internal table underscore account. I give another name. Same output parameter. So internal table, instead of select star from account table, what I do is select account, comma, bank, comma, balance. So if you see here, if you go to your account table, you have got account bank. Since I don't want to see the customer ID data. So I just see I created an output procedure. Internal table contains 4 columns because output parameters in internal table. Structure of an internal table is same as your account table. So your account table contains 4 columns, means your internal table contains 4 columns, but your self statement contains only 3 columns: account, bank, and balance. So if you try creating this procedure, now it will throw out an error. So what is the error? Okay, so what is the error? And there is a return type mismatch. Okay, the return type is a mismatch. There is a mismatch in the return type. The reason is very simple, quite simple. Because your internal table structure contains 4 columns, because that is account table, right? So structure of your internal table is account table structure, means it contains 4 columns, but your select statement contains only 3 columns into the output. So now the structure of your table, internal table, and structure of your select statement not matching, so that's why it's throwing an error. So always keep it in brain when you're going with output parameter as an internal table or input parameter as an internal table. So the output of your select query should be same, should be in sync with this structure of your internal table. So now what do we have to do? So now let's create another internal table which contains only these 3 columns. So let's create a table which contains only account, bank, and balance column. So now let's say right click on the table. I'm creating a new table now. Account underscore procedure. Schema is Hana 52. The type is column store. I go with customer ID. Sorry, I go with account. Bank. Varchar with max length 10. Balance. Decimal with length 10, 2. Okay, I'm just creating the internal table with same as your output structure. Okay, so your select statement output structure contains account, bank, and balance. Now your internal table, I'm creating a table with account, bank, and balance. So but the type of the table, I'm not choosing it as a row store or column store table. I'm creating it as a table type. If you choose the option as table type, means it will have the table properties, but we cannot store the data under table types. Table types behaves like a table, but we cannot store the data in a table type. Physically storing of data is not possible in a table type. Okay, so generally these table types are used for creating the structure of an internal table. See here. Now let's execute. Now your table type has been created, right? You see the table types under procedures. Now I can see account underscore procedure table type is created here. So now you open that in the so you can see the table type. What are the table type we created? You can see it here. I just used. So now output is an internal table. Structure of internal table is same as your account underscore procedure table structure. It contains account, bank, and balance. Perfect. So now your self statement structure and your internal table structure both are same. Both are in line with each other. So let's okay. Let's create now your procedure now. Right click. Let's refresh. I can see procedure underscore internal table account has been created successfully. So let's call your procedure. It's only output parameter. So question mark. So now you can see it as account, bank, and balance. Clear? The internal tables. Okay, and table types. Generally, so we create the table types according to the select statement structure. Okay, let me create one case statement. I'm creating a case statement here using an internal table. I say, let's say, create a procedure under schema HANA 52. Procedure underscore case. I go with an output parameter. That is an internal table. Structure of internal table, I'll give it later stage. Let's say as begin. If I go to the customer table, sorry, let's go to the data of your customer table. Open content of your customer table. You're seeing some 5 records in this customer table, right? So now based on the address, I want to write city. See here. I say now internal table equal to select customer name, comma, address, comma, phone number. Select customer name, comma, address, comma, phone number. Say now, let's say case, address, I can say now when address is SR Nagar, case address I say when address is SR Nagar. Let me check here. Then write it as Hyderabad. Case address, so when address is SR Nagar, then write it as Hyderabad. Okay, I say now when Whitefield, I say now then Bangalore. When it is something like Hindi, then Chennai. Let's say and as city. Select customer name, comma, address, comma, phone number. So fourth column is a city column, but this city column will pick the data from case address will pick the data from address column. When address is SR Nagar, it will give the data output as Hyderabad. When Whitefield, it will give it as Bangalore. When it is Guindy, it will give it as Chennai, and it has a city column from. So where you want to get the data from the customer data. So now so how many columns we have in the output? Customer name, address, phone number, and then city. So now you have to create an internal table with these 4 structure, with these 4 column structures. So let's say let's go to your tables. Right click, let's create a new table. So this is like customer underscore city. So let's give it as table type. I give customer name, address, phone number, and then city. Where with max length and customer name, address also I give the same something like this or something 15. So phone number is integer type. So this one is also where with max length 15. I'm creating a customer underscore city table with 4 columns. So let's execute. So that's a table type. Sorry, we have to check here. Now a customer underscore city table type has been created. So now the structure of your internal table will be same as structure of your customer underscore city. Okay. So this customer underscore city table type has nothing to do with your procedure, just a reference for your internal table, a reference structure for your internal table. That's it. Okay. So now your customer underscore city table contains 4 columns and your self query also contains a similar kind of 4 columns. Now I can, let's say, create super. So now your procedure has been created successfully. So let's call your procedure. I'm calling this procedure underscore case. Refresh. Now you can see procedure underscore case. It has got an output parameter. So there you can see a new column was created, a city column. Data will be taken from the using case statement. The data is taken from address column. So this is how your case statements works under procedures. Case if, and based on the business requirement, if you get any business requirements, so what are the statements I use, they are enough to come and answer with the normal business requirements. Okay, so these are some aspects of your stored procedures. We written almost like 9 procedures. Okay, 9 different types of procedures. So now let's focus on the header of a procedure. Okay, let's focus on header of a procedure. Let's start with headers. Just give me a minute, please. I'll start. 1 minute. I'm muting myself. Okay, let's focus on the header part now. So far we focus majorly on the body of your procedure. So we got some statements in the header. Generally the major statements we have in header of the procedure. Star means mandatory statement, so create procedure. Then here we give the schema name, and then some procedure name. Then we have another mandatory stuff called star. So you give something like here in the parenthesis you give input and output parameters of a procedure. Then we have some optional statements in the header. Okay, there are some optional things in the header. You can choose a language in which we can write a procedure. Generally, a stored procedure in Hana, the stored procedure can be written in two languages, guys. So one is SQL script, that is Hana's language itself, or we can write a procedure. So Hana has got some inbuilt R server. We can write a procedure in R language also. R is an analytics language. Okay. So R is an analytics language which is majorly which contains majorly the mathematical functions like, and if you want to make some mathematical functions or operations like trigonometric functions, okay, I can say linear equations, quadratic equations. If you want to just go with some statistics data, so if you're making an analyze using a mathematical functions, then R language is the most suited analytics language. Earlier we used to use this R language code for prediction stuff. Right now we're not using this much. With artificial intelligence everything come into play, so most of the prediction is happening through AI and machine learning. But you can write some script using an R language also. So that's one thing. By default, all the procedures we written so far, they are using SQL script only. I'm not writing any R language because even I don't know how the R language works. Okay, that's a separate code. Then I can say
Sir,
okay, you can have a default schema also.
sir, for
So
R we
mhm.
for R
Yeah,
we
go
have to
ahead.
integrate any, like we have to add any adapter or anything.
No. HANA has got inbuilt R servers. It has the capability of executing an R code.
But where we will write, sir? Is there any console? How to open it? Just
Nothing.
to know that.
Here you just write language is R language and in the body you write an R code.
Okay.
So default schema, if you give any schema name in the default, so all the statements whatever you write in the body of the processor by default they'll be taken from that schema. And all that, okay. So now all the statements whatever you write in the body of the processor, the entire tables will be read from this schema. And then last thing we go with is reads SQL data with result view. So there we give it as column view. Okay, so generally we call it them as stored process, right? What do you mean by stored process? If you're storing output in some object, then only our processor is considered as a stored processor. So far whatever I written, they are not stored process, they're just a processor, because we see in the output of a processor whenever we call them. So is it possible to store the output of a processor in some object? Yes. So we can store the output of a processor in a column view. Okay, column views are the objects in which we can store the outputs of a processors. Okay. So how do you write and see here? So generally in the header we write. If you write this statement reads SQL data with the result view, and if you give the column view here, so it will automatically store the data in that column view. Then let's say now then you get as, after that you'll get begin. Okay, so there you write the body of the processor, means all statements. Here you write SQL statements, which are nothing but your body of your processor. Then last statement you have is end. So these are the things we can do as part of a header. So let's write a complete header. See here. So I can say create procedure. See, only first two statements are mandatory. So language, default schema, reads SQL data. These are not mandatory. They are optionals. So create schema. So create procedure and a schema Hana 52. I give it as something like procedure underscore head. Okay, what I do is now see here. I create an output procedure. So output parameter is same. Output, I given an output parameter that is an internal table. Okay, so that is account underscore procedure. Let's say now language. So by default SQL script, so no, not a problem. So if you don't write a language, it's by default SQL script only. So now I give it as default schema. So default schema is Hana 52. So means by default all the tables will be taken from the same schema. And they say now reads SQL data with result view. And here column view name I give it as CV underscore account, column view underscore account. So now let's say as begin. I give it as an internal table is equal to select. Same, let me write the same stuff.
Sir, one schema will one procedure will have only one schema.
So means this processor will select only tables from this scheme, others will not be possible now. So now even if you don't give the schema name here, so select account bank and balance from account table, by default this table will be taken from default schema, that is Hana 52 schema. So you have multiple tables, guys. You have some 10 to 20 tables. You're writing a lot of statements. If you maintain default schemas, every time you don't need to write schema name dot table name. You can directly write a table name. So by default, the table will be taken from that schema. Okay, now let's say, so create your procedure. So there is no errors. So now your procedure underscore head has been created successfully, right? So now it will create a column view. If you open the column views, you see a column view CV underscore account has been created. Right click on the column view. Let's say open definition of the column view. So it contains three columns: account, bank, and balance. Because the output of your internal table is same account, bank, and balance. So this is the statement created for a column view. So create a column view CV underscore account with parameters. Processor name is Hana 52 something. Sorry, processor schema is Hana 52 and processor name is processor underscore head. So now you right click on your column view. See here, right click on the column view. There is an option called let's open content of the column view. You see the output in a column view. Did I call my procedure? I didn't call a procedure, guys, frankly speaking. So I never called a procedure. I just went to the column view and see the output. So this is the procedure output. So means now the output of a procedure will be stored as a column view. Okay, yeah. So generally for HANA modeling, we'll use this column views. Okay, for creating calculation views, analytic views, or HANA models can be created on this column views. Okay, so this is how you can simply go with. So this procedure underscore case also. Okay, let's write with the column view stuff. So language is by default SQL script, so no need to mention it. Okay, by default, so it's not mandatory that you have to use. So default schema is anyway one table, so not an issue default schema whether you select or not. So I simply write this option called reads SQL data with result view. And I give the column view name as CV underscore column view underscore city. So first two are mandatory, the remaining all are. So now your column view has been created successfully. So now if you see your browser is successful, let's refresh your column views. There is a CV underscore city, right click, let's open content. You see the output now. Okay, so this is how we created some stored procedures. Okay, guys, generally now we created these objects, database objects, or database views, created triggers, done tables, done. Synonym is anyway, it's just a, we already use synonyms. Sequences we created, procedures we created, column views we created, EPM models, EPM queries, indexes, they are of no use. Functions also, as of now, I'll speak about these functions at a later stage. Okay, so we'll speak about these functions during the modeling scenario. So with this, I can say I covered the database aspects of HANA SQL part. Okay, so right now we're done with the SQL part of HANA, I can say. So in the next class, so this is like we're done with one area, I can say. Okay, the scripting part, we created all the database objects of HANA 52 schema. So in the next class, what we do is we start with data provisioning, means loading data into HANA systems. Okay, we will begin with the data provisioning. Okay, and we'll try to get the data from, okay,
So actually,
so there you go. So now we're done with the database aspects of HANA. So for modeling, we need some business data, guys. What we'll do is, so we're not going to start with the modeling aspect now. So we'll start with data provisioning. So in the next class, so we will try to get the data from SAP or non-SAP systems into HANA database. So for that, we got some different tools, SLT, BODS, and Smart Data. So I'll start with SLT initially. Let's begin with SLT. So it takes almost 4 to 5 sessions for me to cover SLT. Okay, let's start with SLT, then I'll go to DS, and then last I'll go to the smart data. Okay, so the next 10 to 12 sessions, we're going to focus on the data provisioning. So getting the data, getting the tables into HANA database.
How about the flat file?
Hello.
How about the flat file, Satya?
Yeah, file loading. Anyway, it's part of SLT loading, right?
Okay, you're taking from it. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
directly.
So better than file, we'll get the tables from ECC itself. So file will be a very small thing, and so we'll try to get this VBAC, VBAP, all the data from ECC straight away.
Okay, and non-SAP that can be covered in the non-SAP.
Yeah, so non-SAP, I don't have a non-SAP system, so we'll majorly get the tables from ECC using
Okay.
SLT. So we'll try to do the business models in HANA. So that's the biggest advantage in HANA. We can use this sales tables, finance tables of ECC, and we'll create the models using the tables.
Sure.
We don't need to have the
Yeah.
files, upload the data from files, etc.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with this SLT program. So I'm keeping like a short class because we're done with the major topic. I don't want to start SLT today. Okay, so I stop here. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Sir, can you
Thank you.
share today's session? Hello.